It's expensive being a moron. I had the perfect wildlife setup in my arms. Still almost do, just no camera to wield it. The Nikon setup, could not beat it. Wildlife, that is their jam. But I thought maybe it's too much for me. I don't deserve it. I only see squirrels. This is stupid, $10,000. Maybe I'll downgrade to a 600mm Tony 11. So I bought it, but then someone offered to buy the Nikon before I could compare them, and I just assumed that this would be good enough. And you know what I just learned? And you're about to learn it as well. It's not enough. It's not even close to enough.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So we have a lot to go over today. I took the Nikon Z6III out one last time with this 600mm prime beauty 6.3 Tonys if it was a foot. We have a bunch of side-by-side comparisons. Canon R5II with the 600mm Tony 11 versus Nikon Z6III with the 600mm Tony 6.3. Now I know on paper it doesn't sound fair because this is such an expensive lens and this is a cheap lens, but this body is more expensive than the Nikon, so it evens out to similar cost, and we're about to find out what should you pour your money into, the lens or the body. Before we get to the footage, here's what they look like side by side, both lenses. The 600mm Canon lens is much smaller, but you do have to extend it out. So once you do that, it's actually the same exact length. Identical almost, it's just the weight is so much less. 1603 grams for the Nikon lens, that's with the hood and no caps. This has a tripod collar, I don't have it for the Canon, but 1007 grams for this Canon with the lens hood that I had to buy separately, by the way, Canon. So total weights of the setup, 2363 for the Nikon, 1767 for the Canon, and that's why I got it. I thought, okay, I know it's a ghetto lens, but come on, it's full frame still. It's a Canon R5II. Like, what could go wrong? I tried the 800mm Tony 11. It was fine on an EOS R. Of course it was going to be better. It wasn't. So first shot here, before even getting to the forest, I saw a sparrow. Here we are, 4K 120p, Canon R5II. It's not bad. A little busy of a background, but it's okay. It's pretty sharp. Looks good enough. It's just kind of cheap looking. There's a bit of cheapness to it. And that's always pain. That's usually what you get in an aps-c body. And here's 8K 60 RAW. Noticeably better, but it's hard to edit the damn file. And is it worth the sharpness upgrade? Oh, he left my life. It wasn't. Now what I'm about to show you is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to be myself right now. It's a little side-by-side, Nikon versus Canon, same bird, same fence. Help us all. What the flying escapade hell? We got Nikon in a crop, because 4K 120p crops, and mine doesn't, so that's full frame on the left, but there's nowhere near the same pleasure and magic. Uh-oh, what did you do, Nikon? Why is your lens that good? Canon, you budget hobo hell bitch. But here's 8K, loser. Oh, it's not as sharp as Nikon's 4K? That's fine. I'm not embarrassed about that. It's still pretty good. Easy to edit these files. Oh, Nikon, how I miss you. When will you come back to me? Ah, that was Nikon leaving me. This is both, oh God, they're just leaving my life. One after the next. This was super low light scenario. My God, the sharpness. Oh, the beauty on that, the background blur. Just a sparrow, not even in the forest yet. He left me just like my Nikon camera did. There's something about the Nikon footage that is just like, wow, you're a movie. You're a film. No, the autofocus is not perfect. As you can see, that's one of the complaints. It might lose your ass. That bird is gone forever, but going to some ghetto Canon HD 240p shot, it's just, there's a weird, I don't know if it's moire or like an over-sharpening, aliasing type of thing in the feathers. It's just, it's okay, it's sharp. It almost looks like 4K footage, but it's not, and the bird didn't do anything special, but whatever. But honestly, initially, after seeing that first footage, I was like, that looks cheap as hell. That doesn't look good. Oh man, what did I do? Because like, You have no idea how fast these things happened. I buy the 600mm lens, but it hasn't arrived yet. And then I get an offer for the Nikon, and it's such a pain in the ass to sell gear that you just take the offer if someone actually offers it. So like, he offered it before I could even compare it, so I ran out to get footage one last time and then sold it hoping that this would be good enough. But as I see it, and using the camera, as we'll get to soon, was like, oh, what have I done? Oh, wow. Here's 8K 60 RAW of a raccoon's tail. That's good times, not bad. See, like, you can get right in on the details, and it's cool that you can do that. But when you crop in post, that really just exaggerates the stabe. So I don't know that having 8K is really that fun. So really, I just have A7S III specs with a much worse lens. Oh. Here's some side-by-side 4K 120p ducks refusing to come out on the Canon. The Nikon's like, that's a nice camera there. What's that lens all about? 600mm, let me dance for you if you don't mind. Whereas the other ducks are like, seriously? The Tony 11 Primal was at $800? That's bullshit, I'm not moving. I ain't getting off this rock for that. And here's 6K 60 RAW versus 8K 60 RAW. Not the best comparison you ever seen in your life, but whatever. I don't know, man. Nikon has a filmic look. I'm not sure what I was thinking, like, oh, I should downgrade my gear. This is too good. Like, what the hell was that mindset? The ironic thing is, since this doesn't come with a tripod foot, you can't hold it underneath, so you're just kind of holding it by the camera, and it is much lighter, even with it extended out there. It was such a, it's almost back heavy. Like I'm used to this front heavy thing and I'm fighting it. This is almost falling into my face, but it's like falling into resting on my forehead. Very easy to use. Like, that's a breeze. That's why I got it, but I wasn't expecting hell nightmares with buttons and terrible lens quality. Now, when it comes to Canon's animal eye detect, it was pretty good. Most of the time I was like, yeah, that's not bad. It wasn't always great. I feel like it lost it here at some point. The blackbirds are back with their red wings. That's what you call those. 4K 120p, like, the thing is, Canon does not crop in 4K 120, so that's cool. Nikon has to crop to aps-c to get that. Not sure it matters all that much. In fact, if this had an aps-c crop, it'd be a better shot, if we're being honest, but I blurred out the background with a Tony 11 lens and you couldn't even handle it. But I find the Canon stabe to be better. It's less jerky. There's definitely like movements as you're trying to track something, but it's way less irritating to watch. It's just, Nikon was always like jerking around. It's like, what is that? That's so annoying, stop moving. Now here's where I started to struggle with Canon technology and their buttons. And I was like, really annoyed at some point that I couldn't get peeking on. The buttons are so different and complicated. For moments like this, I want to be manually focusing. There's so many twigs around. I just want to latch on myself, take control, and goodbye. So that brings us to the first couple complaints I have with the R5II compared to all the other systems I've used in the past. First one, peeking does not work at all. No matter what you do, the only way, and I only found this out when I got home, I was like, how come I have a button map to peeking? There were no zebras on, peeking's on in the quick menu. I'm like, I don't see it. What, is this just such a soft lens that peeking can't even register? I was like, why? I'm pausing, autofocus, servo pause, and then peeking, nothing. The only way you can turn it on is to use the switch on the side, which is not great because that takes you away from the zoom focus area. So like, I should be here resting. I shouldn't have to thumb search, although it's right there. Thankfully, it's doable, somewhat close, but then you get peeking on. And then it's like, okay, there it is. The second annoyance came when I wanted to start switching modes. I have full area autofocus, eye detecting birds, and then, okay, there's a lot of twigs. I'd like to narrow that down. The only button that you can do that with is this mother effing button. It's literally called that because they know the pain that you're about to see. So like you can map it, okay, switch area to this button, but you can't scroll. There's no way. It just brings up options and there's no way to choose them except this button. It's the only button. So now I've programmed that to switch modes and I have to double press it many times and then get out. Let me just tell you, people who make fun of Sony ergonomics, Sony, I had 3 options: full area, a zone, and then a spot, even tinier. And when you press a button, it just switches to the next one. Okay, I'm in large, boom, there's the zone. Nope, smaller, boom. It's very easy, it just cycles, that button. Whereas Canon, one button to bring up a menu, another button to select it, and then a half press of a shutter to get out of that nightmare. What the hell is that, man? So much time. I thought you lead the industry, you don't. I hate you. Honestly though, it's just, I have to learn to shoot differently on Canon. I have to rely on these autofocus moments. It's like, yeah, sure, Canon will find it between the brushes somehow. I believe in you. It's just, you have to remap things, and I've reworked some custom buttons. I think next time I go out, it'll feel better at least, and I will be better used to it. And that's the thing about switching systems. Everything's new and you're not used to a damn thing, and that's why you should never do it. But I've based my life on doing it, so I have to. Goodbye, goodbye forever. Oh, Nicky boy, where have you been? How come you're not with me now? That crop, that's beautiful. 4K 120p on both. Similar shot. They're actually pretty comparable. I guess the lens isn't all that bad. It was a better day too, more light for the Canon, but hot damn. Here's 8K 60 versus 4K 120, and it's like, I don't know, do you really see much of a difference? Everyone's watching on their phone, or my monitor's, what, half of 4K, 1440p or something. That's why I'd rather have slower frame rates in 4K. Like I would love 4K 240 frames per second. Like this moment here, okay, bird's not doing a ton. Even that little glance could have been way more magical in 240 frames, if we're being real. And then having like HD 1000 frames in bursts, like that would be fantastic fun right there, would it not? I got some 6K 60 on the Nikon, but it was mostly 4K 120 because I was planning on comparing this 600mm with my C70. I wasn't even planning on buying the R5II. It all happened so fast. It was like I sold the Nikon in the morning and then found that crazy deal for the R5II later that day and bought it immediately. I was like, oh my God, I will get used to this setup, I think. I will learn to love it, and eventually the weight savings, I'll be like, oh yeah, man. Oh man, it was user error that first day. Now look at the footage, it's gonna be fantastic. It was too bright. It was like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Not one bird alive. But honestly, I'm just coping right now with the pain and misery, and I have an idea of which direction to take next. But these next 2 shots, these are kind of summing up what you're getting, the difference between Nikon industry-leading wildlifers versus the Canon Pretender budget option. Here we have a red-winged blackbird refusing to share much of his red shoulder, but see, we blurred out the background. Tony 11 is still 600mm on that thing. Decent little shot, it's okay. You could write home about that. It's a micro four thirds at best, but it's a decent little shot there. The problem is you could get this instead with a Nikon with snowy mist blowing in the rain, and I could not take the Canon out because it would melt in the snow. It's not weather sealed. It's just, I don't know what it is about it. I'm not even using the red LUTs. It's the regular Nikon LUT, the new one. This was the closest focusing distance. This cardinal was letting me get really close to him, and I was like, oh, hey, look at me. So this was like right there at minimum distance, and it's like, wow. Background obliterated, it's like sharp as heck. The color is beautiful, dynamic range. Nothing looks cheap about it. And here's the full frame, 6K 60 raw, easy to edit, like everything about it, except of course, the left-handed mode dial. But Canon brings its own pain to your life. It's very different. This was the closest focusing distance with the Canon. I think I couldn't even get past it. If I had peaking on, I might have saw that it was just barely not quite in focus yet. But you can get pretty close. Like that's the one downside of these primes is like it's like 2.4 meters is as close as you can get, so it's a bit of a nightmare. But like you can totally get some close macro-like shots right there. Come on. That's good. That's good enough. Like what do you need? How are you gonna frame anything tighter than that? I was finding myself just constantly searching for buttons and like changing the mode dial when it was up here. It's almost like it's too far to go back and press it with your finger. So it's like, what am I supposed to reach up here with my thumb? That didn't feel right. So I've remapped the mode to over here. So it's like 4K 120, which to 8K 60. So it's like that. It's just, I don't know, that's annoying. But like with Nikon, you had to do this. It was really awkward. If you stay in 4K 120 for most of your scene and then you're moving on and I'm gonna get some HD 240, you just do that quick and then stay there, then Nikon's way better. But like the autofocus, especially with Nikon, you're just autofocusing and then override, you just start doing it and you're in manual focus with peaking on immediately. It's just, okay, I'll take control now. And then if you want autofocus again, back button focus, re-engage. Whereas Canon, it's a switch. Oh God, where was that? Ow. That's gonna suck. Here's a terrible shot, 900 feet away, but it's 8K 60 raw. Oh my God. So you know what we can do? We can punch right in on then. Oh God, that looks like trash. Oh man. 8K, what is your purpose? What point do you have? A little bug. Canon's animal eye detect though, it's pretty insane at times. Like it's focused on it even though there's a ton of twigs in the foreground and it's blocking it, but like it was tracking it. At some point I feel like it lost it, but then it does reacquire it when you think it wouldn't. Like it lost it, it doesn't have it here, and then it's back, even though it's like blocked by everything. It was the worst shot of our time. I saw this thing, tiny and cute, I'll tell you that much. A finch. Warbler finch, brown, woman-like, hiding from predators. Goodbye to you, miss. When it comes to the HD 240p, quite high quality, very decent. I was quite happy with it. For chickadees, you have to have 240p. It's not even a competition. Like you're trying to get 120 with a little chickadee, like no thank you. It's not even possible. This would have been much better in 8K, but that's me sucking at my job and not choosing the proper modes. There I am there, but not much detail, but it looks pretty sharp for HD. I did realize 8K 60 would be better, so I did it eventually, but I don't know, it wasn't worth it now that I see it. But you can punch on in there, and wow, look at the detail of that. Look at the details over there. But yeah, I don't see a problem with the Tony 11. Like all that did was give me proper shutter speeds outside. Like for video guys, it's not a problem at all. Usually I'm up around like 8,000 shutter. It's like, this is fine times. This was probably the best shot of the day. This woman brought out her Sphinx cat. It was hairless and cute. It was walking around. That's the cutest little cat. Come on now. So here's the deal. After using that one day, I cried. I realized Nikon was better. Still trying to sell this lens, but there's no real opportunity right now to get back into Nikon because I don't like the Z6III. I'm not going back to a left-handed mode dial. That's just facts. It all depends on what's coming. The Z5II, do you have all the Z6III specs and a right-handed mode dial? Then, okay, maybe, and then I sell the Canon 600 lens for that. Or we experiment with Fuji in that 500mm prime. But like, I don't know, right now I'm not seeing it with Canon, just the annoyances. Maybe with my new tweaks, I will have much more fun and then I'll be convinced, and it's so light and wow. I think we all knew the Nikon would be better for wildlife, but seeing it in real life and experiencing it, living it is the real pain. So I see it. I see you now, Nikon. We're waiting for future updates to your system. All the firmwares are coming now that I sold the camera, most likely, but I could see a world. But Canon, I'm very happy I bought it because I like it much better for this, for the talking and nature shots, the slow-mo street videography, like everything, even vlogging, like everything about it. Autofocus, stab, colors, You name it. I prefer it on the Canon. It's just for wildlife. I feel like I might need a dedicated wildlife system, and we're still waiting for something better. I can't bring myself to go back to Fuji XS20 with just 4K 60 and a crop, and then HD 240, and it's like such old tech. But Canon's weird, man. Like all the eye tracking on the animal, a lot of times there was like gray outside, and I was like, does that mean it's not in focus? I don't know what that means. So getting used to a new system is the real pain. So we'll see what happens. Everything available through the affiliate links, of course. But what did you think? It's pretty obvious Nikon destroyed the Canon today, but there's potential that Canon could win other battles. It's unlikely, but whatever. Might sell the Sony today. Might sell this C70 soon. And then I could see a Canon and Nikon team in my future, or Canon and Fuji. Just throwing that out there. So I will leave after Bitcoin sneaks its way into my wallet. Subscribe for more.